Good evening, and welcome to our second Fabul Gauntlet race, the first restreamed on RPG Limit Break. I am Baka Shinobi, and I am joined by Alice. How are you tonight, Elsie?
I'm good. How are you tonight?
I am excited. This is the first race in our new tournament, the Fabul Gauntlet. We've recently released the 4.0 version of Free Enterprise, one of which adding the major system of objectives, where we can go and set it where you either win, or in this case, get the crystal by completing 5 objectives. You can set them beforehand, or they can be entirely random, which is what we have tonight. This is a new thing for us. We're doing 1v1 as well, where instead of having what has been typical in the past, where we have 4 runners going and playing the same seed, this is just going to be a 1-to-1 head-up matchup where if you can get in your opponent's head and figure out what you think they're going to do and beat them to it, you can go and get an advantage there. This is going to be also the first Swiss tournament for us, where we go and have 5 rounds of Swiss, where each player will run 1 race a week for the next 5 weeks, after which we'll go and have a bracket, a cut to the top 32 runners. Any tiebreakers will go and be run then, and then we'll be in the bracket stage, where we have the best of 3 until we go and get to the last final race. So if you're looking forward to Free Enterprise, you're going to be getting to a lot of it this upcoming months. How do you feel on this, Elsie?
I think it's great. I think it gives a lot of racers a chance to kind of test out their chops, give a set of racers a new try, something different.
Oh yeah, it's always nice to see the new blood here, as we do have dustygriff tonight, who is our World Series of Free Enterprise runner and a top 16 runner from the Highway to the Zima Zone, and d2kemps, who I do not believe was in the previous Highway to the Zima Zone tournament, but has been a runner in the past, so I'm looking forward to seeing what we get tonight.
Very true. And we've also got on our restream team, we've got Invenerable with our restream, and we've got IKER tracking, and we ask that you give them a follow, as they're doing the real hard work for us tonight.
Yes, I'm just talking, but looks like we might be getting started. It seems that yep, time has started and the race has begun. We've got we've got a twin start. This is a little bit interesting.
And it looks like we've got a pink tail as well, but unfortunately, no adamant.
That's right. We have the no adamants flag turned on. We have standard shops, standard treasures. We have all the characters will be available in the seed, are guaranteed to appear out as well. So there will be 1 duplicate and 1 of every character. And note, if you have to go and get a character and it's a character you start with, that means you have to find them, and that character is going to be your duplicate, as the other characters will still be required to show up in the seed. So now we're going to find out what our objectives are for our race tonight. So we need to defeat Valvalis, drop the magma key into the well, conquer the Masamune altar, defeat Wyvern, and then also go and trade away the rat tail. And what defeat Valvalis and Wyvern means is we have to find them wherever they are. They could go and be right here on our way. They could be sitting in Antlion, they could be sitting in the Watery Pass, or they could be sitting somewhere far out of the way, like Giant of Babel in the CPU spot behind Kanaizo, because the seed just loves you.
Or you could just do Valvalis at Elements and Wyvern at CPU, and a very hidden darkness crystal somewhere.
I'm sure runners would love that, because again, you don't need to find the crystal, you need to complete these objectives to get it, and then you can go and fight Zeromus. And boss hunts, there's 34 locations where you can find a boss, and you have to be able to go and they will be spawned in. It's not like they can't go and show up, so you'll be looking for them. The real question is going to be, how far out of the way are they going to be?
Well, I know our viewers are hoping for something very trolly and some awful chain that our runners have to go down.
Oh, you mean something like, say, finding the rat tail in Sealed Cave, then going to turn that in. Wow, we already found Wyvern.
That's a required Wyvern.
The children are not going and saying hi to him yet, but Dusty knows where one of his objectives is. That's definitely something that's going to give me some information. We'll see if Kemps goes and checks that watery pass, as in the past, the only time you do these boss checks is when you're looking for D-Mist, who could still go and have something very important for us, like that darkness crystal.
That is very true. And it does give Dusty the information that Wyvern is off the table for a very difficult.
Yes, that is good to know, where if Wyvern is a place such as that CPU spot, or that sealed cave spot, or element spot, you can have a very rough fight and you need to go and make use of some advanced tactics like agility anchoring to even stand a chance, because we don't have Witchburn on. When you see Wyvern, Wyvern's going to say hi back with a Mega Nuke.
Very, very true. And even at that spot, he is very, very fast. You will be getting Mega Nuke.
Very true. The Octomem spot has extremely high agility for an overworld spot, because Octomem himself is, Octomem's designed to go and lose agility each time you hit them with the tentacles. Without that balancing factor, you're just going to have a very rude Wyvern, so we might know where Wyvern is, but we might not be coming back to them for a good long while.
And we do see a Cain and the Magus sisters there at Baron Inn.
That could be a pretty big relief, as we've got two mages. Valvalis in a lot of locations will just simply laugh at your puny attempts at throwing spells and not really be able to do much when you have two casters who you really can't go and hit Valve too well with those casters.
That's right. There's only a handful of spaces where she can be hit with magic, unless you are very, very high level, and in some places she is completely immune.
Yeah, Valvalis is more than capable of being an extraordinarily rude boss, so seeing that Cain is a serious relief.
And we see Kemps checking the Mist Dragon vanilla spot. Hopefully he also checks the Octomammoth spot and gets that same information that Dusty.
Yeah, if Kemps doesn't check there, Kemps is going to be in for a bit of an unpleasant surprise if he misses that, and he is going to Hobbs instead, which maybe we missed them checking there. Okay, unless we missed them checking there. That's a bit of an oversight for them, but maybe they're going to go and wrap that in later. Instead, it seems they're gearing up to go up Hobbs, as Dusty is as well.
And this is a pretty standard check. And a Sid with Leviathan. Leviathan is pretty doable at most.
Yeah, Leviathan, especially with that starter kit, which some of you may have noticed at the start, there's another option that was added with 4.0, and that is to have this thing called a starter kit. We'll just start with a not entirely defined, but it's not entirely random selection of little goodies to go and help get you started, like some tents, some cures, life potions, maybe even a siren or some basic G items. There's all sorts of nice goodies you can start with to just get yourself rolling.
And here we have the best reason to start with the twins. You actually get to make use of that twin spell, which early game is very, very...
Oh yeah, it's Callum learns his spells at just after the first fight usually, but before he has that fight, he's really kind of... The level 1 spells are just not very exciting, but Dusty is through, making good use of Twin, and Sid bonking things with a hammer, and going to loot the back of Hobbs as well, because I guess he wants to find something better for Sid.
Yes, and while in chat, we are discussing the functionality of Sid. He is very, very useful early game, just with his HP and even his damage if you have an Earth Hammer or a Rune.
Oh yeah, Sid is the highest level character you're going to be able to start with, because we gate Edge and Fusoya behind key items with this restricted characters, not relaxed, standard I believe we changed the flag to, where you will only be able to access Edge because he comes with a lot of good gear and is level 25, and Fusoya because Fusoya is completely and utterly broken, behind a key item gated spot. But if you start with something like the Sand Ruby, you can go straight there, pick up a Soya, and have a completely strong team.
And it looks like Kemps is coming back to that Octomam spot, so he will get his knowledge on Wyvern as well.
Very good for him to know. Good quick reset, because that's not a fight you're going to win at the moment. But he does know it, and I think he's going to save a little bit of time by going and unlocking his hovercraft and going to Antlion Cave right away and coming back before having to do the 2 trips that Dusty did.
And it looks like we did find some pretty good gear in the Antlion Cave. I saw a Dragoon helmet, some samurai armor.
Didn't seem to be any better weapons for Sid, unfortunately, or a bow and arrow, which is definitely something you want to see for Sid, because there is the back row glitch you can enable with Sid, where you equip him with a long-range weapon, such as a bow and arrow, and Sid now does full damage from the back row. Elements in the first spot. Interesting.
Not quite the Valvalis that we're looking for.
Not the Valvalis we're looking for, and not the Valvalis that we see at all, as Fire 2 takes them out, and we get the Pan. That is a very dense key item check. That might go and drive Dusty away from Fabul in the hopes that he can just skirt by only going there once.
Yes, the Rivers McCown strat of only going to Fabul once, if at all possible.
I don't blame him, as saving these trips can be pretty helpful, though Dusty does not seem to be a fan of the River McCown straps, and Kemps, I believe, is just going straight to Fabul rather than going and clearing Antlion first. And both are, ooh, we see Ogre Axes in the store. That is a very nice pickup.
Yes, especially if we have a hook seat. Those Ogre Axes are great for those enemies in Upper Babel.
Indeed, going and exploiting the Ogre or Giant vulnerability of just quadruple damage. And even then, the Ogre Axe is, in my opinion, one of Sid's best weapons, because it's one of the only one-handed axes. So Sid can use a shield and get some extra defense. And it's a pretty high accuracy weapon as well for an axe, where it's got 80% basic accuracy rather than the normal 60 or lower percent, which is what the rune and poison axes are.
And we see Dark Elf guarding or attacking Fabul, which probably won't be too much of a problem at this spot.
It looks like Palom's going and throwing out some damage. Porum is going throwing a vampire. This, I believe, yep, there's the meat change. So going through it pretty quickly. d2kemps has starting the fight as well, but he has all of his characters in the front row, which might go and work against him.
And with dustygriff making use of those J items, some of our viewers may only remember this game from their childhood. What sort of items are available in this version?
Well, if you've only played the US version of this, we have a whole bunch of goodies added back in called the J items, where we have the vampires that we saw Dusty throw would go and do drain and does a few hundred points of damage to these early enemies. We also have Star Veils, which will cast Wall on the user, Silk Webs, which will go and cast the maximum application of Slow, a number of different things like Boreas and Zeus Rages that will do Lit 1 or Lit 2 or Ice 2s, all the different elemental spells. We have a lot of more tools in our toolkit, and that's part of why you'll see our runners going into so many item shops. They're looking for them.
Looks like all we got from that fight was just a shiny rock, which in this version doesn't have a whole lot of utility.
it is half of the key to open up the Kukol Smith, so maybe we find a Legend Sword, and maybe we find Cecil, and maybe we turn that in to go and get a nice shop in Excalibur, but this isn't the Highway to Zima Stone, where that was one big important part of Go Mode. Instead, it's just a rock, like you said.
Now, with the changes in 4.0 to the different J item buy rates, you may want to open that store. But I think on this version, we're just T or not T standard, shop standard. Many of our J items are available in.
Indeed, a lot of our important ones. We do have some price changes where if you find things like hourglasses, which do full party stop, or the sirens, they're going to be a fair bit more expensive. And those are the sirens I skipped over, but they summon the rarest encounter on a table set, which our runners know some very, very nice rare encounters to find to get a bunch of experience. And it looks like Dusty is got a little bad luck on his opening fight in the Maga Sisters, as he just Howl went down. Sid is going in taking reduced damage because he has some Dragoon gear on, which has 50% resistance. And there comes Powell back, but these Maga Sisters, this is actually a relatively high magic power spot, so those spells are going to be pretty dangerous for a while.
He is able to get the third sister, whose name Mindy. He is able to get Mindy down, so at least the spells won't be coming out.
Indeed, until the middle sister, Cindy, revives them, but Hammer to the Face says, no, back to the sleep you go. Meanwhile, we do see that Kemps is going and clearing out Antlion Cave, going and just not saving. So, I guess they're banking on it being a relatively safe fight, and they do know where Wyvern is, so it's hard to go and find something to wipe them. And here's Val. Oh, this is evil.
This could go poorly.
So what, as I mentioned earlier, you're very unlikely to be able to hit Val with spells, and this, there are some spots where you can, and I was thankfully mistaken. This is a spot where you can still hit Valvalis with magic even in her spinning form, and she doesn't have super high physical evade either. What happens in many locations, if not most of them, is you need to have a good number of attack multipliers to go and get past Valvalis' evasion, and you're very unlikely to be able to go and get through her magic defense at all in many locations. The fact that Dusty can go and still hit Val with fires Qs here is going to be a very big benefit for him.
Right, because usually you want that cane to take out Val, but she is still hitting pretty hard for the twin.
Oh yeah, this spot does not pull its punches at all. This is where Young likes to go and introduce you to the feeling of pain and misery, and you only stop him by hitting him with the Cecil. Shame Yang doesn't actually carry around that much attack power when it comes and joins our party, but we'll take what we can get from this Valvalis, who's at least alternating between punching and bringing people down to weakened status.
But this does mean that two of our objectives are, at least we know where they are.
Indeed, and it's pretty likely that we're going to go and find our this Valvalis quickly, but Kemps is going to Ordeals, which Ordeals, I believe, is the logic path underground, as Valvalis cannot block the logical way underground, and we see that we get the Luca key, so Kemps is getting a leg up here for getting up Ordeals and getting to that way underground.
Very true, but we hope he doesn't put off Baron N for too long, because there's always that chance in the back of your mind that you might forget about.
Oh yeah, missing that would be a huge disaster for Kemps. But Kemps does find a Bacchus wine on the upward deals, which that's as easy to skip chest. Dusty skips that. That is a little bit of advantage for Kemps, as Bacchus wine casts Berserk on the user and is very helpful when you have someone like, say, a Sid, before Porum learns her Berserk spell.
Or even if you save it for Zeromus, and just that can get your characters berserked that much quicker.
Very true. In the Zeromus fight, where Zeromus is very fast, every turn matters, and the faster you can go and get that going, the faster that helps. And Dusty did skip that Bacchus wine. Meanwhile, we see CPU. So, fun fact. It might look like a machine, but Final Fantasy doesn't count it as a machine, because if it was, Sid would be doing quadruple damage.
Which is very strange, because it's probably the most machine-looking thing in the game.
I am not going to disagree. I was very disappointed when I went and looked that up in certain tools, FFK store to be specific, and finding out that, nope, this isn't a machine. You're not going to do extra damage with Sid, so that's a bit of a pain. But we do see that this is... It'll be a doable fight, but it is going to be a bit slow and dragged out for both of our runners. So I think Dusty's going to have a bit of an advantage having Kane as just extra damage. Hallam is not really able to do much this fight as CPU keeps wall up. Hallam doesn't have Quake, and trying to reflect a spell back, even if you want to use Star Veils, is a good chance of taking out that attacker node, which you really don't want.
No, with a party that small, you definitely don't want to take a risk of losing your healer or everybody.
Yeah, those Globe 199s are definitely going to go and start hurting people. And Sid is just not doing well for Dusty. He's continuously missing that defender node. Oh, and Kemps is going for the reflecting of the Lit 2s, it seems. Popped a Star Veil and is just throwing out those Lit 2s, trying to go and just rush down CPU. And Porum is slowly getting chipped down as that attacker is doing 10% of her maximum HP every single time, and she doesn't have that much. Getting some good rolls on that 50-50 between the attacker and the CPU.
I just cringe every time he does it.
Well, there's a thing we said in this when we were preparing, and that's fortune favors the bold. If you don't go and take the big risks and make the big plays, you might not get advanced, because this is just 1v1. You have to come in first, or if you're not coming, you're really just not getting a lot of these rounds. Ooh, and using a big bomb, not realizing that that's going to reflect in. Kemps takes a reset. Very unfortunate.
It looks like he's decided to hold off on ordeals for right now, possibly going to go for that cane.
That's not something that I can disagree with, as that CPU was a long fight and he had to reset out of it, so not really going to get a lot of time once he gets more anything going, really. I think he might go and check weapon shops and find some bow and arrows. And again, yeah, he might go for that cane, because this isn't going and taking to where he wants to be right now, I think.
And Venerable pointing out in chat, Kemps doesn't know that his way to the underground is up the mountain.
Yeah, which is going to make that sting a bit more, because that walk, while not terribly long, isn't free, but he does find cabins, and I don't know if dustygriff went and found those cabins. That's a pretty big find, especially if you need to go all the way down to the bottom of the moon and take a few fights down there. So while we are Dusty is getting through that fight and has taken down the attacker, has gotten through. And I assume Dusty's going to go turn around and save a bit to get ready for the next fight, as I don't think he wants to risk repeating that.
Absolutely, that's not a fun fight to have to do twice.
That's not a fun fight to do once. Yeah, gearing up, getting ready to go into this, switching rows for the back attack, and let's see what joy we have waiting for us in the Mylon Z spot. Oh, that's assuredly some fun. We do see the mute knife in Kane's hand, so I think we're going to see a few... Oh, there's Berserk coming out, and Dusty is saying, you know, we could do this the slow way, but let's do this the fun way.
Ooh, but she goes straight for Kane.
Looks like Ashura's not joking around.
It looks like even with that mute knife only doing a couple hundred damage, this could be a long fight for them.
It is, Ashura does not really pull her punches when anything, and I agree, this could go and take some time, but we could go and use Hallam, bluff them up, get some more power into those spells, and just blast through that way. Cure 2's coming out, not getting the life flack that he needs in order to go and get through this fight. Something that happens with Ashura is every single time you hit her, she goes and spins her faces and chooses a random spell to use, but if you hit her right after she casts a spell, it's not so random. It takes her right back to the spell she just cast.
It just hurts when you see all of your damage just healed away in one fell swoop.
Yeah, that's the double Starbell strats are definitely safer, but they are slower. So something that is interesting about this is if you feel like taking a little bit of time, you could bluff up Hallam, set up 2 Starbells, and reflect Hallam spells back onto Ashura and bypass the counterattacks.
It looks like Kemps did take a wipe on Valvalis, but at least has the knowledge of what's behind the Magus system.
And reordering his party, so I'm guessing that going to go and give a bit of extra defense to the children and let Sid do as much damage as he can from the front row.
It looks like Dusty did go ahead and burn 2 of those Star Veils to get this down.
It hurts. They cost money, but it hurts more time to lose time, so... Or it hurts more to lose time, so... Makes sense, and there goes Ashura. The defeat told in the stars, assuredly. And Invenerable pointing out in chat that Paladin's Rune Ring is definitely doing a lot of work. That is used thanks to the Mage Resistance properties of the Rune Ring, which doubles the wearer's defense against enemies of the Mage type, which Ashura is, which is also why the Mute Knife was doing bonus damage.
Dustygriff is taking a gamble here, going straight into this next fight. While it's got a very small amount of HP, there are certain fights that can be very, very trolly.
Speaking of trolly, we have a Hook Seed. And the freest boss in the game is our fight here. That is a bit disappointing.
This is not where you would like to see them.
Now, I imagine Dusty would be much happier to see them in their vanilla location. and chat going and bring out all the lovely predictions for where Magma Key could be hiding, because we still need to find it. We're going to get underground. We're going to launch the Falcon. We're going to be exploring underground, and we're going to need to find that stinking key and chuck it down a well and see what happens.
Which, in this version, does have a little bit of interesting text.
I won't spoil if you won't. Ooh, and Kemps is unfortunately taking another whip on Magus Sisters, getting the revive and just not being able to get through, feeling like he can get through that with his current setup. So Dusty is definitely pulling away a bit here, having full clear the overworld, with the exception of checking for a very interesting Dina spot, but I don't think Dusty's going to go and be looking for that at all.
Personally, I'd leave that until I have maybe another character and a better white mate.
Yeah, Dusty has no real reason to go and do anything but charge down that hook path, turn in the Pinktail first, because while it's not an adamant armor, it is still a high tier item, which could be many different things, including a Dragoon or White Spear for Kane, or a Defense Sword, or an Avenger, or a Glass Hat.
Well, and it seems that our Mazamune has moved from its altar down to the little mini.
Well, if we find Edge in his vanilla location, that'll definitely be a good pickup for Dusty. And Dusty is looting Silveria, so he might go and find those cabins, which will be a big pickup for him. Kemps has found illusions, which they used to cost a fair bit less than 4,000 gold, and then we all discovered that, I can trivialize a good number of physical-only bosses with these, so they now cost 4,000 each.
Yes, a lot of things got far pricier with the new version.
Dusty's also taking a hard look at those illusions and deciding what's worth keeping and what's worth selling to go and get a few more, or a few of them himself, excuse me.
Well, and knowing that you have to get through the two bosses in the hook route, you definitely want to make sure that you can take whatever they throw at you.
Oh yeah, those are some very make or break items. It is definitely something that we didn't lean on them a lot previously for bad reason. They were definitely some of the strongest items we could go and use to get through some bosses early on. Dusty is also going and checking the open Troya treasury, just seeing what items he can go and pick up here, as I guess he doesn't feel really that happy with the weapons he has. Considering Kane's rocking a mute knife, I can understand that.
And Kemps is through the Magus Sisters fight and back to Valvalis.
Well, he's back in there. Forum is down, unfortunately, and I don't think he's not trying to go and use magic, which is the big difference between his fight and Dusty's fight, I believe, as Dusty was able to go and pull out several hundred points of... Oh, no, I'm mistaken. He's unfortunately going and getting beaten up by Valvalis, and Val is really just taking him to town.
Unfortunately, does take another wipe, but at least has the knowledge that Valvalis can be attacked with magic in that.
Yeah, this might be a point where Kemps either has to try and get lucky and get through some of these fights, keep Pormal around, or burn some illusions to just buy some extra time and get enough hits in so that Val can go down. Meanwhile, Dusty is doing a world tour shopping, going and dropping. He's dropped off his hovercraft Evelyn is just going around to all the shops in the world, checking them for whatever he might need. And I don't know much what he's looking for, but he may be looking for more star veils and sirens. Or not sirens. You can still find sirens, but star veils and life potions would probably be what he's looking for.
And Kemps, getting very quickly through the Magus sisters that time, discovered that he could use agility manipulation to have the sisters kind of just nuke each other.
Well, that's a fortunate turn of events for Kemps. And also we see that there's a vanilla Rosa in the seed, so if we want a better white mage, we'll need to find a sand ruby.
Also gets lucky on that weak cast, hitting his palm.
Not so lucky
So
with
his
his punch.
Yeah. I spoke too soon.
I think Kemps might need to go and lower the battle speed, because it seems like this is a reasonably slow spot, but Val seems to be getting a good number of turns. Seems like they're just taking a minute there and recollecting themselves before. Looks like they're just going somewhere else. Maybe they'll go to Ordeals to grind. Because if this isn't working, go and pick a different. Oh, going to the Evelyn, maybe to go and try and pick up some fights there and get some experience. Which, if you go and pull out a strong item, that can definitely go and give them a big advantage.
Right, in those chests, you do have the 3 trap chests. You do have some potential for some really nice items. While adamants aren't in this seed, there are still some very top-tier things you'd like to see.
Yeah, an Artemis bow would be a great find for this team. That would definitely help sit out a fair bit, giving 10 strength and 10 agility, and letting him use some mute arrows against the Magus sisters.
Or even a cursed ring to kind of manipulate his agility a little bit more.
Indeed, and we see Kemps forgetting that the Mad Ogres have extraordinarily high magic resistance and just shrug off that big bomb.
And Dusty finding the best character in the game, Akidia.
Funny, that didn't look like Edward. Rydia will definitely be an interesting addition to this team. If Dusty wants to go anchoring, you can go and keep that Rydia at base level and use her for just tanking your fights. You can go and have a relative agility once came with this party, it seems. Alternatively, you can go and take this Mad Ogre fight somewhere in here, and Rydia will be getting double experience as we have a full party, and with the catch-up experience flags, you will go and get double experience from any fight you take after with a character who's more than 5 levels behind the median level.
Yes, this can be used for great effect in taking a character later on in the seed and bringing them up to the same level as your other character.
Very much so. You can also use it for some long extended grinds, such as the D-Machine grind, to take your character, a low-level character who's behind, and slingshot them far above your current characters, because if you do it all in one fight, you can go and just double the experience for your whole grind. Looks like Kemps is trying Wyvern, but Wyvern's very fast, but Hallam dodges, and unfortunately, Hallam is a bit slow and unable to go and get anything out before Wyvern just nukes him. Meanwhile, it looks like Dusty threw an hourglass and is going using Kane with a mute knife to work through these mad ogres.
And in this flag set, the life glitch is on. So this is quite a bit of experience.
Very much so. This will definitely go and help get his team much more ready for the bosses that are to come. And Rydia is taking a bit of a nap, so I think we're going to be seeing some anchoring strats from Dusty. Meanwhile, Kemps is going back to Ordeals and is taking some encounters on the summit because this is one of the best places to grind on the overworld. To answer a question from lovely Pitch Zero in chat, no, we have not seen your meme man, Pain Man yet. Or as everyone else calls him, Dark Knight Cecil is a boss, which, if we have Dark Knight Cecil as a boss in the King Queen Evelyn spot, that could do an extraordinary amount of damage and be a bit of a wall for this team.
And I was so excited to see my girl Rydia, I didn't actually see who our boss was for the second spot.
The second boss is a Lunar Sparkle, which we know it's not Wyvern for a couple of reasons, but it's definitely going to be something that's not... It could be Ogopogo, who would be definitely painful. It could be Plague, who with that level 1 Rydia would be rather painless because of how agility manipulation works.
Or it could be Lunar Dragons, which with this team would be rather interesting.
I imagine if we saw the Lunar Dragons, we would see some very lovely frog strats come out, where, well, if you've never seen them, let's just say you probably never saw it in a vanilla game for a decent reason. And there's Palom at level 23 with his Quake.
And that will make these upcoming fights significantly easier, as Quake is pretty much the best spell you can get until new.
Yeah, it's very hard to go and compete with the power of Quake, which is part of what makes Palom so amazingly good. Actually, Fluff also makes Palom amazingly good. It's kind of unfair how good Palom gets. And here's Kanizo, and probably the least awful of the two spots, but definitely not the one you want to see.
No, he's still gonna be pretty nasty here, but not nearly as bad as it would be if he was at the Rubicon spot.
Yes, because that wave, while it will hurt, will at least do not as much damage as the Rubicon spot, because the wave is based on Kanizo's current HP, specifically 4% of Kanizo's HP, so this is going to kill Kane, and it might kill some of the mages as well. Nope, only 200 points of damage, which is manageable, as that next Quake is going to go knock out even more damage, and I believe Palom will be able to throw out a Cure to push him a little bit. Looks like trying to go and get Kane back up instead.
Well, and that second Quake did push Kanazo into his shell phase.
Which is everyone's favorite phase, because every single time you hit or do damage Kanizo, he reminds you he's hiding in a shell.
And from the looks of it, healing more damage than our attackers are.
Thankfully, Palom can go and bust out a virus to finish him off, or else that would have been a very, very slow fight for Dusty.
And Dusty, not even taking the safety save, just goes on to that next boss.
And we have D-Lunars. This is... Well, I think we're going to go and see some fun strats for everyone today, and if you haven't seen them, I'll let you be surprised. Kane living up to his reputation of being a betrayer masterfully.
And on Kemp's side, he has gotten through that CPU spot.
That's definitely going to help him out a fair bit as he's gotten a fair bit more levels, and he'll be able to be more equipped to deal with that Baron in afterwards. Dusty not being shy with the Star Veils here, getting ready for what might be some of the biggest surprise for those of you who are very familiar with vanilla Final Fantasy IV.
Lunar frogs.
Yeah, it turns out Breath will still work on bosses if you reflect it back, and this is apparently an intended way to go and kill the lunar dragons, reflect back that breath, turn them into toads, and laugh at their helplessness.
And if I remember correctly, this strat was found completely by accident in a Highway to the Zima Zone race.
I believe so. I believe it was in the first Highway to the Zima Zone where it was a runner discovered, wait, that works somehow? So these frogs, these D-Lunars who may have gone and completely and utterly decimated your childhood, are getting all the revenge you could expect and more.
And Kemp's is through a Shura. That was very quick.
That was definitely much faster than Dusty's fight, which he, Kemps is going to pick up some time there, so not out of this yet. We can go get through this hook path, and we still have a lot of places we know we need to go. We know we have to go and clear that Baron in, but you can always come back to that when you're just going to say hi to Maga Sisters and Ashura and stomp them into the dirt.
And the original finder of our lunar frogs, Dipwood, is in chat trying to hide.
Thank you, Dipwood, for going and revealing one of the most entertaining strategies for dealing with those absolutely jerk dragons. But dustygriff at 45 minutes and 30 seconds is our first runner underground, and we see Antlion on top of the tower. We don't need to find any specific bosses anymore, but Antlion can be kind of rude up there. It's not exactly the weakest spot, but not unmanageable.
Especially with those illusions that Dusty picked up, he can be pretty much managed with his countering.
Very true, and you can always have Porum throw blinks out as well, because I believe Porum's at the level where she has blink after getting through that upper babble and having that for experience. But now the question is, where does Dusty go from here?
Looks like he's going to go smack a monk over the head.
I guess he's panning the other spots to go and hope to get pick up some extra value here.
Oh.
What, can't dish it out?
And Kemp's now has his hook, while Dusty looks for his pan in his inventory.
Dusty's serving up some interesting wake-up calls, and the Sylphs are serving him a legend sword so he can open that Kukul shop and get a Excalibur if he so desires.
And heading straight back up into the overworld, probably to go check Sheila to see if she has any of his necessary items.
Yeah, we are still looking for that rat tail and the magnet key, so definitely something you want to go and hit your key item checks as soon as possible, because we do also need a darkness crystal. Those are the last 3 parts we need for go mode, actually. And Kemps is back to Baron Inn, though has made the mistake I make all the time, and that is forgetting to go and switch your rows, and just resetting after Palom goes down, decides I'm just going to go and redo this.
And Sheila gives us a white shirt and a earth crystal.
Earth Crystal is not exactly the favorite check for a lot of people, but it is 2 characters, and if you have an Excalibur you can pick up at any time, and it is 2 characters, and it's gated, and you have a Masamune, maybe you want to give that a check. Maybe you want to wait until Twin Harp is around. That's hard to call. It looks like Dusty is going back for Wyvern now.
Oh, but forgets to heal beforehand.
I'm gonna guess that Dusty is of the opinion that there are 2 states in this fight, alive and dead. And HP is not really going to change that much, though Sid would have enough HP to go and survive some of these attacks.
But it looks like that did not kill Wyvern.
And Dusty does need some MP, it seems, so gonna see if he can get a Quake out before... Nope, Wyvern nukes him before he can go and get done.
Does decide to give it another shot, and Kemps is through Valvulus and picks up his cane.
I'll definitely be going, helping me along to get his Luku key as well, and will be on his way to getting to the underground. Callum gets that Quake off, which will hopefully be enough to finish off this Wyvern. And it is, so that is the second, well, objective number 4, second objective of the seed, complete. Now the question is, where does Dusty go from here? He has a bunch of checks underground, and not many of them are always fun, but Dwarf Castle might be someplace he goes, or he could go straight to the Feymarsh to look there and see if there's any interesting bosses for him to fight.
And at least pick up his free key item.
Indeed, there are 3 key items we need, so any key item check that's fast is definitely going to be a good one, I think. As, again, we need Magma Key, Rat Tail, and Darkness Crystal. You can go and have one of those behind a long chain, you can have one of those just sitting for here free in this chest.
I've seen Darkness here in the free chest more times than I've seen anything else there, so...
It is a popular spot for it. It is definitely one of those things that you don't want to go and leave that chest sitting around. I've, again, what did you say?
See?
I believe someone is a witch today and has enchanted the seed.
I don't weigh the same as a duck.
Yes, but do you float?
Maybe.
Witch! But Dusty now has the very difficult question of where to go next. You have literally the entire world open to you with Darkness Crystal. The only spots that are gated at the moment are Baron Castle, Twin Harp, and Tower Key, and the rest are open. Rat Tail is technically gated, but because it's one of the key items we need, it's not necessarily going to be the most gated.
Yes, this seed is being pretty generous with its checks.
We're going to see how much that generosity extends, because if this is Ogopogo, this is going to hurt. Well, it's Plague. Plague is actually pretty free. A quirk of Plague, for those of you who... Oh, Dusty's choosing not to go and continue this fight. I will go and... What caused me to call Plague free is that when you have a very low agility anchor, you can go and kind of cheese Plague, because you can just flood the ATB with actions, prevent that instant death from going, that count from going off and killing your characters, and then Plague's just sitting there smiling like an idiot.
Agility is witchcraft in this game.
I thought we established you were the witch. I'm just the bad comedian.
I might be the witch, but I don't know any of that agility witchcraft.
Ooh, we find Bacchus wines in the shop. 50,000 a pop, but hard to say it's not worth it. Racing the 5,000 a pop, but still pricey. Dusty picks up 7, and they're going to be very helpful for him if he chooses to go moon early.
It looks like he is deciding to do Dwarf Castle.
Meanwhile, Kemps is going and hitting up the trap chest in Evelyn Cave. This gives him some good items. This will definitely help him catch up on time a bit, as he is Berserk Sid, I believe, and is just going to be trying to get through this as well as he can, throwing out the Hourglass. And resetting because the fight is not going well, which is very unfortunate. Going to need to redo their looting of the cave. Hopefully they remember where the important stuff is, and we'll skip all the things that were less than stellar.
And it looks like we have a Lunar Sparkle on Dusty's side. We are running out of bosses that this could be.
Yeah, we're down to Paladin or Ogopogo, and it's Paladin. Where is Ogopogo? That jerk is my least favorite of the moon bosses because he hurts. Because we have found Plague, we have found D-Lunars, we found Wyvern because Wyvern is required, and we've now found Paladin. Wherever Ogopogo is, he's either in a very unpleasant spot or is sitting somewhere trolly like the cannon spot.
I'm hoping for alt Gauntlet at the cannon spot.
Whoa, that's mean. But I want alt Gauntlet, the Masamune altar that our runners are required to do, and slog through that garbage.
That's true. That's even meaner.
Because the alt Gauntlet, the Fabul Gauntlet, is a boss who is 5 fights, 16 enemies from Fabul that you fight in the vanilla game. There's officer soldiers, the random monsters, and that flying gargoyle. The alt Gauntlet is 6 random encounters from the surrounding area, or reasonably surrounding area, who can be very mean when you're fighting things like behemoths and evil mass at the lunar core.
I think that might be the scariest spot that you could find it, for sure.
I mean, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and that will give you a lot of experience, but, ooh, here's a hard question for Dusty. Who do you get rid of? He gets rid of his Anchoridia to pick up Edge, because he has a Masamune and a Ninja Sword, I believe, and he is ready to take Edge to town.
Curses. Curses on him.
I know, I would rather have Tello as well. But Palam's going and making short work of Bagan with that Quake, and if Bagan has any HP left over, which he doesn't, Sid was ready to go and take him down.
And that is another very difficult boss out of the way at a fairly easy spot.
Very true. We still have some rude bosses left. Golbez hasn't been found. We haven't seen Ogopogo yet. And, well, we have gotten taken care of Kanizo. There is, and we know where Odin is, though Odin can be reasonably manageable, especially with that edge if you find a Thunderclaw. But I agree, we're starting to run out of rude bosses to really stymie our runners.
Now we just have to hope that their objectives are behind a ridiculously long and painful chain that involves music.
Yes, let's have music, but I still want to go and have take that package and find a Demas sitting there waiting for everyone to bypass that Edward, who's just clearly going to be waiting at package. And Dusty making good use of that tracking screen to go and see what are my objectives, just making sure he has all of them and knows what he's looking for, and he's going to Zot, it seems, to go and, I don't know if he's going to loot the treasury or if he's just going to go straight up and fight the bosses there. He is choosing to loot the treasury. One thing that is different, while these are T standard flags, we have a new tier of treasures called T Pro, which weights treasures based on location, and this gated check is much better with T Pro. Ooh, that Thunderclaw will look nice. And while he's not picking up anything exceptional here under T Pro, these chests can have some pretty nice things in them. Then again, the tiara, the coffin, this is not terrible stuff to be finding in
The money suit.
Hey now, sometimes you need to go and have Cecil tank another hit or 20 from an undead Mylon Z in a root spot, so maybe it's necessary. Maybe it's not money, it's money.
That was a pretty nice set of items from there, though.
Yeah, I did say that it's not better than expected, but it still had a lot of good things with, I think my prize there would probably be that tiara, especially since you have a Palom that gives dragon resistance, it's a bunch of defense, and it gives some wisdom, which makes it my personal favorite headpiece for Porum, Bridia, or Rosa for the Zeromus fight.
Well, he did get rid of his Rydia, so I guess if he holds on to his port.
Or if he replaces Porum with Rosa, who is at Sandruby, all of them use that Tiara, and that will definitely boost survivability for the Z fight. But I will admit, dumping Porum, well, he does have Bacchus Wine, so dumping Porum is a bit more safe than it's been in the past, or on S-Pro, where Bacchus Wines will be much harder to find.
And it looks like Kemps is taking some random encounters, trying to get some more levels, possibly to take on that Cagnazzo.
Ooh, but getting hit with bluster counters from those Black Cats, if you don't kill them with one shot, they can counter with Bluster or Blaster in certain versions, which is either paralyze or instant death.
And we see Octomammoth at the Sisters spot.
Well, I believe a certain someone is going to extra use of that. Oh, not even switching over to the Thunderclaw to get even more bonus damage. Instead, just letting Edge cut through the spot like a hot knife through butter, because even without quadruple damage, he's still doing 2,000 a swing, and I don't think he's going to take more than 5. And Kemp's taking some random encounters and is discovering one of the eggs. This is, you've seen this game, there's a certain grind that we like to see, which has yellow dragons coming out of these eggs, while this is getting a Lamia, which is definitely not one of those.
And we see an old man guarding our first character to the Earth Crystal.
Tella is not a character I would turn down. Maybe. He is a very good one. And edges are duplicate, so it is hard to justify taking a second edge when you don't have extra weapons for him. But you can steal Edge's gear for that nice karate and bandana. And goodbye Sid, and goodbye second edge, and not choosing to take that armor because I think Kane's the only one who really uses it, and, well, doesn't really feel the need for it.
And here is our D-Mist. Unfortunately not behind the package.
Disappointing many people, and not disappointing dustygriff because we have a certain flag called No Free Key Items, where in the vanilla game, Edward gives you the Twin Harp, and the randomizer, without the No Free Key Items flag, Edward will give you a random key item. You can go and talk to him right at the start of the game. If you are seeing that you would rather not have that free item, we go and assign it to D-Mist instead, who will be somewhere, and after you go and defeat D-Mist, you return to Mist, talk to Rose's mother lying in the in front of her house, and get the key item from her.
And Tella is immediately taking a floor nap.
Dusty wanting to go and preserve that very nice low agility, because we don't have many agility manipulation items here. Cursoring would certainly go and be welcome, but there goes D-Mist down through the deep ravine that Corum opens in the middle of this tower. Gee, I'm guessing the reason why this tower is collapsing is because Corum is the one who's bringing down the roof. Thank you for correcting me, Simar. It's Rydia's mother, not Rose's mother. Rose's mother is important because if you are new to this randomizer and have no idea where to go, you can go and talk to Rose's mother and Baron right behind the inn, and Rose's mother will tell you where to go and find key items that you can check right now.
Such a nice lady.
She just wants all of us to be successful. And there's our rat tail. Earth crystal required.
So at this point, we are only missing the magma key, and we are in go mode.
Indeed, this is, where oh where could that magma key be? If it's on D-Mist, this is very unpleasant for Kemps, unfortunately.
Dustygriff gets the pass, which, while not a key item, is incredibly helpful.
Indeed, though, if he finds the magma key before going Moon, he can clear the Masamune altar and then go straight to Zeromus, because the way things work in here compared to, say, Forge the Crystal, you go and get your crystal the moment you go and turn in or complete your last objective. You do not need to be anywhere specific for it. So if you say finish off the game by getting the completing the Masamune altar and get your crystal, you can just walk straight to Zeromus.
And if he wants, he is able to get a Rosa as well.
Which is, I mean, I've said my opinion. I think Rose is definitely going to be a better add to the team than Corum, and Dusty just hit 10 key items. So Dusty can go and do a bit of a grind, because at 10 key items, we turn on double experience.
It looks like he's going straight to the moon, possibly to go find himself some gold dragons.
He does have Tele. He could do a D-Machine grind as well if he so desires. Though he might also want to just check the character and check the shop, because if there's, say, a Fasoya up there and he gets some new... and there are sirens for sale, that can go and be a grind option for him, because I don't believe we've seen sirens anywhere.
Very true. We have not seen sirens, and that is a very good grind spot.
And meanwhile, we do see that Kemps is still taking counters, getting ready for these fights in Upper Fabul, so definitely struggling to get through this, but making some progress.
Dusty heading straight to the Hummingway shop to see if possibly his sirens are for sale there.
Elixirs and Cure Choose. One of those items is vanilla. Actually, I don't remember the shop that well. I think it, unless I'm mistaken, it does only sell elixirs and vanilla. Or does it sell something else?
I think it's just elixirs in the original game.
Elixirs are certainly the only thing I remember, because I was thinking, wow, you can buy these for that much money that I definitely don't have.
Yeah, by the time you have the money to buy them, you don't really need them. And we have a moon bard.
Looks like the Spoony bar turned into a Moony bar today.
Oh.
Oh, come on. I know you took a shine to that one.
And it looks like Dusty is heading down into the lunar subterrane.
Leaving checks on Earth could go and bite him, because that is a place for Kemps to go and try and pick up time, though Kemps is walking out of the Tower of Babel. I wonder if he's going to go and pick up some items, see if he can get some maybe illusions or whatnot to help him get through these bosses.
Or possibly looking for Thor Rages. I didn't see if he picked them up or not.
Very true. I believe those were for sale in Agrit, if I'm not mistaken.
And to answer a question in chat, sirens have a chance of being sold on this flag set, but we have not seen them.
Yeah, I believe if they can show up in the Cole Smith shop, which Dusty could open but has not. But otherwise, we've a bit of a change from Highway to the Zima Zone 2 in the previous version, where pretty much all items end up being guaranteed in the previous version, which sometimes made things a bit less than interesting. So we made it so that certain items are not guaranteed. Specifically, things that are safety items are not guaranteed. Or not safety items, such as Star Bells, Life Potions, Cure Potions, and whatnot. Will just have a chance of not showing up. So that's what happened here. It seems like sirens just didn't get added to the shop pool this time.
And we have a very angry moon wall in a very nasty spot.
And this team is not exceptionally high level, so this is going to be very unpleasant. I believe, yep, there's a reset for Dusty. This is, Evil Wall is, well, a rather evil wall.
And he takes a reset and heads to the Plague All.
Which, offers the soldiers a much less evil fight, but this spot, unfortunately, does not give a lot of experience compared to that Ribbon spot, where Ribbon spot gives 100,000 experience base, 200,000 with Dusty's 10 key items. This gives about 30 or so experience, 30,000 experience, I believe. So this will be a bit less experience, but getting a life glitch off and doubling the experience from that officer will be a significant help.
And for those of us who never managed to kill the officer first, you do get to see a little bit of an interesting design mechanic for this.
Well, Dusty threw in an hourglass, so I don't think we'll see that mechanic today.
Oh, I missed the hourglass. Or, yes, the hourglass. I had a cat trying to climb my leg.
Shame you didn't have your tongue.
Hey now.
Sorry, that was a bit catty.
I can't. I just can't with you.
And to think, people threaten me with bans. Just got my back. Ooh, oh, wow. That is a very lucky find for Dusty. Magby Key's on the moon, and the first spot she checks, he knows that he just has to defeat the Masamune altar, go back to Earth, and turn on that Magma Key. He has the pass. Dusty is in a very solid position to go and finish up the seed now, depending on who's at that spot.
Yes, this is actually looking like a very, very quick seed for Dusty.
Getting fortunate, not having to go to literally every location trying to go and find these bosses is a very big benefit for him, because, as I mentioned previously, there are 34 locations these bosses could be, and we're not... Oh my goodness! Now Dusty has the terrible question of how much experience do I get before I try and go and kill Zeromus, because Waterhag is, while, you know, the spot hurts a little bit, Waterhag is not exactly the most dangerous foe to find in this location. 3 hits, Waterhag's down. And with Waterhag not even taking out any of the characters that on Dusty's team, Dusty has to do that job for him by taking out Tella. All his party's got that lovely double experience, getting all these levels, and is that much closer to being Z ready. And we have Is this even shuffled in any manner or fashion? A Masamune from the Masamune altar.
And with that edge, double wielding those, that's more damage for Zeromus.
Yeah, that edge is definitely going to be a cut above now. And to the Giant of Fabul we go.
And Kemps has taken out the 4 ogre chest and is on his way back down to give Cagnazzo another shot.
Not stopping to save, which is rather bold, and I certainly hope this goes and works well for him, because... Oh, he's choosing to go and hit the last chest, I'm guessing. Seeing if maybe there's something helpful in there. Not finding anything that he wants. Silver Helmet, not exactly the best thing to find.
And for those who know the vanilla speedrun, this next section may look very familiar.
But I don't believe we're in step route. But we do have a chart that we consult that will help us find our D-Machine fight, because that's what Dusty's going for. With no sirens around, this is the premier grind, especially when you have a Tella. Though I believe Dusty's going to want to go and check to see if he has certain items. He's got Cabin, so they'll fully restore Tella's MP. Tella only has 90 MP, so he's not going to go and be able to endlessly throw out those weeks, but he has a few ethers, and he can always steal Palimporum or Edge's MP, and moving up that weak spell to get ready himself even more prepared.
And Kemps makes it through the first wave with all his party members intact.
That's definitely a good sign for him. He's got the Thor Rages going and knocking down the wave and getting a bit closer. But not getting enough damage out to stop that second wave. Looks like his Palom is still... His Palom is level 25, so he does have Quake, but he's anchoring with Palom compared to Dusty's level 1 Rydia, so that's causing him a bit more trouble, as that spot is incredibly fast. Which, to speak of that agility magic, there's a cap as to how much faster enemies can be compared to you, which is the short version. And if your agility anchor, aka the character in the middle spot, has exceptionally low agility, you can get all of your characters to hit that cap, even if the enemies have dramatically more agility than you.
And Dusty does find the encounter he's looking for, and will start grinding on these D machines.
Yep, these D machines are, when sirens were always available, you just very rarely saw that fight unless you wanted to go and do a big slingshot, which Rosa is an available option. He could have gone and chosen to slingshot Rosa, but I guess he decided that he did not want to go and take that much time to dump Hallam, pick up Rosa, come back here, and it's just choosing to level up his Forum, which could be a little risky, as Forum does not have exceptional HP growth. But if you have enough damage, you might be able to go and get away with that in a few different ways in that Zeramis fight.
And Kemps does find a great fight for experience, the 3 Mad Ogres, and does manage to get the life glitch off on him.
Oof, Dusty doing a bit too much damage to that Searcher and gets 25 levels on Tella. And is getting a few other levels on his other characters, but he might not have wanted that, because Tella now has much higher agility than he wants, I think. But Forum does know Cure 3, or Cure 4, excuse me. She is at level 49 at 1500 HP. So he may decide to go and leave, or he may go and come back and do another grind. We'll see where he comes from here. To answer a question from chat, Rosa is the Sandruby character and could be a potential anchor, though we do have the rescue flag on, which will allow us to go to Mysidia to pick up characters, unless I'm not terribly mistaken.
And he does have that level 1 Rydia sitting back at the Tower of Wishes.
Yep, that is a very good anchor, all things considered, and Tella's definitely got a lot of agility. I'm pretty sure Tella's around 20 agility at this point, if not slightly above it. A slight correction to what I said. Rescue is no longer the flag, it's a reverse now, where we have a character, or the C flag by, which means when you dismiss a character, you can no longer retrieve them. And that is, the C by flag is not on for these Swiss rounds. It will, however, be on for the next round. And Kemps is fighting the balloons, which balloons are a surprisingly good fight, though having a little bit of a snafu with his queuing, it seems, and use up a life potion before one dies. Still, they do give good experience, which will help him out in these fights down here.
It looks like he is going for the save, possibly for another attempt at Kignazo.
I certainly don't blame him because definitely don't want to lose that clock. Either forgot to turn off encounters or he's just saving up after some of these fights to make sure that he doesn't die. And it looks like he went to go and pick up more hourglasses, which will make his grind much safer. Meanwhile, Dusty is taking more damage from that fire attack because fire is a percentage HP attack. It does 20% of your character's maximum HP as damage, which is why it's doing a fair bit more than the first time he was in this fight. And part of why the D Machine is such a safe grind, where you're not going to have people randomly dying, you're going to go and be pretty, you have a pretty good way of telling how close your characters are to going down.
And if they're going to go down, they're all going to go down at once.
The party that slays together stays together.
I'll let it pass.
But there's Dusty going and getting some more levels, which I believe will take his casters into their top tier spells category. I think when we go and see, Dusty's just going to be walking out, not even saving at the menu. And forgetting to turn off encounters as well, which I imagine he'll remember right after this point. Yeah, level 50. We have a level 50's Palom, because if we have a level 50 Palom, we might not need to switch anchors, because Palom will be at the perfect agility of 28 for relative agility 2.
I still say agility is witchcraft.
Look, it's just a lot of math, and if you want to know, ask Simbu, because I'm not really interested in explaining these things. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that, and the manipulation of it, I usually stick with, is it a really low number? Yes? Great, we're going with that. Except for the one time I did a solo edge seed and made my anchor So, Zeromus has 69 agility. Edge, with enough levels and gear, can also hit that 69 agility. I made Zeromus RA5.
That's kind of terrifying, because that's a big number.
It was hilarious. And speaking of hilarious,
That's never not funny.
it's always funny. I love it. It's as dumb as I am sometimes. But there's our crystal. There is our past in our inventory waiting for Dusty, and Dusty is going to go and take that big whale straight to Toroya, not even going and switching airships. And I believe, he is, whoever, going to switch out for a Rosa. He flew north, okay? That's straight to Toroya in my book. That's part of straight, at least.
It is a shame that we are not getting music this seed, though.
That is very true, as Twin Harp didn't even come up. It might be hidden somewhere in the moon, it might be hidden somewhere overworld, but there's a lot of places it can be. It's nowhere in our runner's path, though, it seems. And it seems like, just reviewing the path, Dusty did very few extraneous checks this seed. Only Fabul, Dwarf Castle, and not even Antlion Cave. Or Antlion Cave gave me the adamant, but there's very little that he did that wasn't required. And Dusty is blocked by his falcon.
I thought he had left that ship there.
This is why you never go and trust the Falcon, kids. This is why you go. It's not called Free Falcon, it's called Free Enterprise. You go and get your Enterprise whenever you're flying.
Well, it's the trader's ship.
It certainly betrayed its previous owners. But we are getting close to that time where we're heading to Zeromus, and I believe we have a rather important question to ask.
Whose butt are we going to kick tonight?
Indeed, because while we might shuffle around all the other bosses, we don't go and add Zeromus into the pool because he's a bit too much of everything. A bit too complicated, a bit too strong, a bit too mean, and a bit too ugly, if we're being entirely honest. So instead, we give him a little bit of a makeover. So get your Z flags out in chat as we find out whose butt we're kicking tonight.
Do you have a favorite or prediction?
Zero word or bust. Do you have your fan favorite?
I think my favorite is still Clippy Miss.
Oh, that's definitely a solid one. I never feel bad exploding Clippy.
I think we would have all liked to have exploded him back in the day.
He was just so smug about, do you need any help? Yeah, because yes, I do need help, Clippy, because your program doesn't really explain anything, and it'd be really nice to know what some of these things are doing. Dusty taking the opportunity to rearrange a bit of his inventory to bring important items up to the top and throwing up the Star Melon's platform, and we get this Zeke Mist, who I know from past references is from Wild Arms.
And I hear he's a jerk.
I hear the speedrun involves a lot of RNG. I wonder if we have someone in chat who can go and explain how much RNG there is in that fight.
And Kemps is past Kignasso.
That is definitely good for him. Getting past that fight is definitely trying, as that is a very rude spot. Going back to save, because I definitely know that I wouldn't want to redo that fight after all that Kemps has gone through. And Dusty is just throwing out all of the damage. Edge is going 3,000 damage a hit. Form is throwing out nukes. Rosa is throwing a silk web and going to do her valiant job of being the anchor.
And Rosa is now tanking the floor.
It's a valiant job, and it's not always for Dragoons, it seems. Rosa's just, I'm still tired. I didn't really feel like getting up today. You jerks wouldn't pull me up here. I'm just going back to sleep. Good night.
Just a good old nap in space.
Maybe that's how they got her up here. It's like, look, you can sleep in bed, but have you ever slept in space? And there's Dusty. I believe he got a reskill skip, unless I'm not mistaken, but Dusty is done. There is Zeromus dead. Congratulations to Dusty for his first place finish in his first round of Swiss. Let's see if we can get him in here for an interview. Meanwhile, Kemps is going in fighting through the D-Lunar fight, which he has triggered the Reflect phase, which is definitely if you go and hit them with a physical attack, they'll go and start attacking. And I believe we are joined by dustygriff.
Hey.
GG. Excellent job.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes, congratulations on your first finish. With how this seed ended up, were you how much were you sweating when you found both those bosses in the overworld?
It's kind of funny. It was nice because I hate boss hunting. So when I saw where those bosses were, I kind of always say, I mention this a lot of times when I'm talking about strategizing this game. Information's a really powerful thing. So even just knowing that wyvern was at the waterfall, I knew at some point in the seed when I was prepared to do so, I could just go take care of that. So I just kind of had that information in my back pocket and was like, I'll deal with that when I have to deal with it, but I know I don't have to deal with it right now. And finding Val's was kind of fun because I wasn't sure if that spot was going to be able to get hit by magic or not. If it wasn't, it was going to be really annoying, but of course it was, so that made it a lot easier.
Yeah, that was something I was commenting on, that I didn't know if that spot was vulnerable to magic or had high physical evade, and if you're going to have to reset out of that. But yeah, you went through that, you got through that quickly. That hook path had temptations of being rude, I think, but you certainly handled it pretty well. What were some of your thoughts when you came across that Kanizo?
I was pretty glad that I did the anchoring that I did. Sometimes that anchoring can screw you up in that situation, but it worked out pretty well. When I saw Rydia, I kind of decided immediately I wasn't really going to use her that seed. Not even so much that I wasn't going to use her, but that if I was going to use her, I'd just slingshot her down the line. She wasn't going to really be useful for me for those fights. So I said, well, I'll just keep her level 1, and she'll be a good anchor for these fights. Which can typically make a big difference, obviously, and it did make a pretty nice difference there in terms of I was just able to throw down a couple of quakes, throw down a silk web, and kind of honestly, it ended up being. I think that anchoring really helped there in terms of making it not as rude as it could have been.
That is very true. That Kanizo, even though the Rubicon spot's ruder, it's still a very mean fight, and you did a very good job. I believe you only took 1 wipe to that fight and none to the second one.
Yeah, I don't think I wiped to Kanizo. I wiped the wyvern because I kind of pulled that off a little funny. And I think that may have been, I'm trying to think if I wiped anywhere else. I reset it of a couple other things, but boss-wise, I was actually pretty happy with most of my play this seed. My grind routing was not my favorite of all the grind routing I've ever done, but it worked. But it was a little bit of a botched, killed the alert a little too fast in the giant.
Yeah, I saw that you let Edge get a little too aggressive on that alert, and I was curious how you're going to go approach that, if you were going to take a few encounters, but you went straight for a second D machine grind, which you went through pretty quickly as well.
Yeah, the thing is when you're already there, it's not really that bad to get a second D machine fight. Obviously, if you have to reset a few times to get on a tile that actually works, it's kind of sucks a little bit. But following the chart really kind of holds your hand pretty well, getting through there, making sure you get the fight quick. And then when you have the tools to deal with the fight, it's just such a good bunch of experience that, I don't know, it's hard to compete with it.
Very fair. That's it was definitely a bunch of experience, as we did not have sirens anywhere this season, unless there were some shops that you missed.
Yeah, that was actually a big part of how I routed, and honestly would have probably changed a lot of my decisions going into the LST because I hadn't found sirens yet. I assumed, not really assumed, I thought that maybe they might be in Hummingway, but they weren't, and I checked everywhere else other than I hadn't turned in the Legend Sword and Adamant ore, but I checked everywhere else, so I kind of said, well, that changes my routing for sure. I would have probably had done my grind prior to going to the LST had I known sirens were going to be up there, and I might have picked up Rosa earlier and slingshot her instead. Getting levels in the fight was also not planned, but it kind of made things a little quicker anyways. I didn't have to kill them off and stuff. I just went and got Rosa, so it wasn't a big deal. But lucky enough, things worked out in my favor. Finding those Kaipo guards at the plague spot made a huge difference for me, I think. if those weren't there, things would have been a little more hairy. I probably would have had to turn on encounters in the LST and done some work there, but it worked out.
Well, and the fact that so many easy bosses gated your objectives, how did you feel about that?
Yeah, it was that was kind of strange because obviously it was just Kaipo guards there blocking that magma key, water hag blocking the Mazamune spot, and then Zot, which is a pretty easy dungeon to go through. The thing that I found a little interesting in routing was that Zot was required for this scene, and Zot isn't really that alluring most times. I did it because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I think the reason why I did Zot when I did it was because I had 9 key items. I didn't want to go to the LST with less than 10 because I wanted to kind of route my experience that way. It worked out mostly, but it's a little. I kind of dislike it a little bit when easy bosses hide your key items because that means anyone could sort of do it at any time, almost. But the way that seed was, there's other rude parts of that seed that kept it from progressing that easily, I think. So I was mostly happy with how it worked out.
Yeah, very fair. I was curious as to what drove you to the moon. So just getting that 10th key item from Zot drove you to the moon. If you did you have any thoughts about leaving that those checks on Earth without or when you went to the moon, or are you just thinking, Moon's got all of the spots, I've got 10 key items, let's clear that and see how things go from there?
Well, exactly. And at that point, I was in the low to mid 30s with levels, so I was probably comfortable enough to, depending on what bosses were up there, to take them on. I knew a bunch of free bosses were still in the pool. I knew I had to do Mazamune spot alter regardless. So when a spot brings you to the moon and you're still looking for a key item, I think it's usually the right call to just go with that. If your routing works for you, which in that case it did, because then I got 10 key items. I said, well, forget the rest of the spots, they're kind of annoying. I think I had Sealed Cave and the Fey March bosses and a Keyless Tower left open, and none of that really spoke to me as something that I wanted to do over the moon spots, especially since I knew I had to go to the moon at some point.
Very fair and very good routing. Well, do you have any final thoughts?
This was really fun. I think the 1v1 format is pretty exciting, and I can't wait to watch some more of the matches. And GG to d2kemps as well.
Thank you, and looking forward to see how you progress in the Fabul Gauntlet as you'll be in different competition next week with that 1 point on the board.
Very much, yeah. Thank you very much, and GG's.
Thank you so
GG.
much. And while we were with Dusty, Kemps did make it through to the underground and is heading straight to the Tower of Zot, which is required.
Yep, that's definitely a fortunate call for him. He has skipped going and checking the free chest in Fey March, but that might be a check he goes to not too long afterwards, as that will be another free location. Going to get through this Octoman without, I expect, too much trouble, as he has a rather powered-up team. He doesn't have the edge from the Dwarf Castle, but he will get an edge here, so if he wants to go and take Vaporwave edge, he'll be in prime position to do so.
Now, I will say one thing I've learned is definitely check your free spots, because 2 out of 2 of the races I've commentated have had that Darkness Crystal in that spot.
Yeah, Fey March is, when you go and make a priority, it's a glass app. When you make it when you fade it, it's your Darkness Crystal.
It's just a Schrodinger's cat.
But of course, whatever spot you choose not to check will be the one that has your most important item. But speaking of most important, as we mentioned at the beginning of the stream, let us go and give thanks to our restreamer Invenerable and our tracker iGear. Thank you both very much for your help. And thank you to our runners, dustygriff and Kemps, for being part of this tournament and telling us to restream. We wouldn't have a show without you.
And today is just the very first day of much, much more Fabul Gauntlet. So if you're enjoying this flag set, just keep your eye out on all sorts of different channels.
Oh yeah, there's going to be a lot of free enterprise coming out in the next weeks. Every match might not be restreamed, but there will be a lot of restreams of these matches with how dedicated our restream team is. And if you are looking, this is your first time being introduced to free enterprise, come join us on our Discord or roll a seed for yourself and play, do some of your own seeds. You don't have to go and do these flags. We have a lot of different options. If you want to go and have incredibly powerful treasure chests or shops with all the amazing stuff, you can set it up. You can make those shops free. If you think this is too easy, I want to have a real challenge, you can make all those shops empty and all those shops sell nothing, or just cabins. There's a wide range of ways to play. You can go and choose to have 5 objectives. You can have no objectives. You can set your own objectives. You can do so much with this randomizer. If this looks fun to you, come and play.
And don't worry if you're just getting into it and you're not sure all the fancy glitches or agility manipulations, because on our Discord, everybody is so kind and willing to help out.
Very much so. We also have documentation for how to go and perform these glitches, and if some of you are curious, why aren't we just duplicating all the items to get infinite money? One of the flags we have is turning off the glitches to make it so that you can't do the item duplication glitch, the warp glitch in Dwarf Castle, which is why Dusty didn't go and peek the cave that way. The 64 floor hierarchy glitch, which if you understand that, you can do some interesting things in Free Enterprise. And the life glitch is the only glitch that we keep on. That well, we also disable empty underflow, but we also have the life glitch, which will be turned on. To answer a question from chat, I don't know if we have a bot set up for the Free Enterprise Discord, but if you go to the FF4FE.com link, there's a link to the Discord right on the front page of the site. And we see that Kemps is going to be doing a bit of switching around to form a power staff to free up that bow, it looks like.
Yep, you definitely want to get as much DPS in this fight between phases as possible.
Yep, and there goes D-Mist, and this will get Kemp's rat tail, which will put him on his way to getting the I can't remember what that turned in for a sand ruby, which you can turn in for a Rosa, and it also got a package, unless I'm not mistaken.
I believe it was the package. Although I can't remember what happened 5 minutes ago, so I'm the worst person to ask.
I'm just cheating and looking at Dusty's tracker, and I know where that rat tail came from. I know where that magma key came from. I know where the darkness crystal came from. I know where the sand ruby came from, but I don't remember where the package came from. All right, this is where the pass came from. That's right, package I believe was from Dwarf Castle then. Which, if Kemps goes straight down, there will be a slight disadvantage for him as he will, or go straight to Fey March, he'll be a slight disadvantage as he'll go and have the Darkness Crystal, but only have 9 key items.
Very true. It's a huge difference when you're grinding between 9 and 10 key items.
Very true, though he can go and pick up an extra key item by, say, checking the Luca key, or clearing one of the Fey March bosses, or doing Keyless Tower. Those are all options for him. The Plague Fright is not exactly the most dangerous of the fights there, so it's very plausible, but he might also go and just be lost as to where Dusty went to go and finish as quickly as he did. Because that is a bit of the rudeness to these types of seeds where, as Dusty alluded to, these bosses could be hidden anywhere. They could go and, well, this seed they didn't go and hide in rude locations. They can. You can go and be searching through the giant or through the hook route when you start with a magma key. A lot of things to find, and a lot of things went in Dusty's favor today, so we'll see how things go for him going forward, and how things go for Kemps as well.
And Kemps is going to give us a peek at that shop.
That is a nice shop. That power robe gives plus 15 strength, which is almost 2 attack multipliers on its own. That is very helpful. Also sells defense swords, which is one of Kane's best weapon, debatably his best weapon, depending on your accuracy and levels. For some more math that we can go and basically, defense sword has better accuracy than a lot of Kane's spears, and if your spears don't hit all your rolls, then you're going to go and be doing much less damage, but if you're hitting all your rolls, you'll consistently do more damage.
Does decide not to get a defense sword, but may not be able to afford it, as 70,000 is not chump change.
Your Cole charges muddy fees for his work, and that is definitely something that's hard to go and get with the money on Earth. And Kemps is choosing to go and clear the Dwarf Castle, so he'll probably go and, at least checking it.
Maybe looking for those sirens.
Very true. Those sirens are a very, very good item. They're something that when they are always around in the Highway to the Zema Zone flags, meant that we didn't see that D-Machine that dustygriff did very often. And without them around as often, we see more different grinds, which, in my opinion, makes the game a bit more interesting, so it doesn't get into a bit of a routine for how you approach these things.
And Kemp sees that lunar boss, and I'm sure hopes that it isn't anything too terrible.
We know that Ogopogo is nowhere required, which now just begs the question for me, where is Ogopogo? Because that is one of my least favorite jerks.
Yes, Ogopogo has definitely killed more than one of my seeds.
Ogopogo, well, I acknowledge that there are certain bosses like Evil Wall and Kenatsu who are incredibly rude and difficult at that Rubicon spot. Ogopogo earns my reward for most hated boss there, just because he really did a number on me my first Hook Siege. I got brutally beaten and battered by him.
We must have had the same seed, because I had the same experience.
Lesson of the day, kids, if you see an Ogopogo, kill it. This is brought to you by the No Mercy for Ogobogo Club.
And Quake just burns through Hail Dim's HP, and he sees his second edge of the sea.
Again, choosing to just ditch the second one, but has the... all of the edges are stylish, but some are definitely a bit more colorful than others. And Kemps doesn't know that there will be a second Masamune for him to go and use, which I find incredibly amusing in the seed, that there are two edges. And the reasonable option is, I don't have enough weapons for edge. I have a Masamune and a ninja blade. That's enough for one edge. That's not enough for two edges. And then you're given and required to get a second Masamune.
I usually can't even find one for my edges.
You just need to go and hone in the right spots. So there's the floating hand going and grabbing the crystal, and this should go and get Kemps his package, which Dusty never checked and may go and have a character. It could have Cecil, which with an Excalibur is certainly not a bad find.
And at this point, Kemps is basically left with the option of a single dip tower or heading to the Famer.
Indeed, as he knows that he doesn't need to look for bosses, he just needs to go and find key items, and whatever key item spots. We do have Sealed Cave, as we did get a Luca key from that Baron Inn.
I always forget about Sealed Cave.
I forgot about Sealed Cave once, and then it had something very important after a full clear of the moon and felt really silly. And if you're really hard up for experience, you can also go and pick up this spot. The Kemps is still at only 9 key items. Kemps is choosing to go and take these trapdoors for experience. And the reason why I say if you're hard up for experience, it's because these doors kill you. Will just kill one character, and I really don't like these fights. They're very annoying.
No, I think all of us on our first time through, not knowing where the treasures were, fighting every one of those doors.
Oh no, this is one of those parts where I decided, nope, I'm not fighting stuff. I'm just running away from everything. Okay, I decided to run away from everything after like the Tower of Zot. These things look scary, but I still went and didn't find things like the second save point or the light sword for a very long time. I'm learning that a lot of you are much more brave than I am. I'm glad to see you didn't go and slam the door in this fight, this amount of experience. Kept yourself open to the opportunity for all this lovely experience and money.
You ran out of puns, didn't you?
I'm going to say no and just pretend I'm really that bad sometimes.
Nowadays, I don't think I could tell you where all the things are in this cave. It's been so long since I've done it vanilla.
We have had some seeds that were vanilla treasures that I went and pulled up a map and learned not just where vanilla items are and the US items, but where the vanilla items with J items were, because I wanted to find where Bacchus wines were. So I know that this cave has several, aside from the lightsaber, it has a number of shurikens, doesn't actually have much of real importance beyond shurikens. There is, I think, a Bacchus wine in here, a silk web maybe, and some hourglasses, but nothing truly interesting. And yes, if you're coming in late and wondering what this tournament is, this is the Fabul Gauntlet. This will be 5 rounds of Swiss until we go, and after those 5 rounds, we'll do a cut to the top 32 players with however many play-in races we need to go and get to 32 players. Once that is done, we move to the bracket stage, where the flags move up, the shops get meaner, the flags get overall less generous, and you need to go and win 2 of the 3 matches against your opponent in order to move on to the next phase until we get to the finals, which will end with a glorious best 2 out of 3. And there will be a lot of matches. We may not be able to restream all of them because there are a lot of matches, but we will do our best to restream as many as we can, as we want to bring as much free enterprise and show off as many of our great runners as we can.
And we do thank our partner channels for allowing us to stream our tournament here. We have a huge thank you to Poexel and RPG Limit Break for letting us stream this evening.
Yes, if you want to know a reliable time, we are between 7 and 10 p.m. Eastern is when the Fabul Gauntlet matches will be played on the RPG Limit Break channel. So if it's that's a time for you, you can go and take a look at keep an eye on this channel and give it a follow to see if you want to go and get some more matches. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you if you're joining us for this tournament.
Oh no!
That is the blank box glitch. If you go and press the button on the right frame, you can go and just get the game to forget to display the item. You can go to the tracker menu and see what the key item is, or Kemps was going in checking something, it seems, but it's unknown what he was looking for. But he is choosing just to clear this out. He's going to go and take out Mylon and friends. You can tell that Mylon is a real taskmaster because his minions are just slaves to...
Don't say it. Don't say it.
I'm feeling put on the spot now, and I'm feeling so very, I don't feel like I'm going to be able to raise up to this occasion. I think I just need to let this one drop.
I tried, chat. I really did.
Sorry, I just can't let it die.
I'm just waiting till I'm doing solo commentary.
I see you too, are we?
Well, chat.
Looks like I'm back for round 2. Can't keep me away from this Thurlow, though.
That's what happens when the mods have power.
And they gave me power too, which is what's the amazing part. Just remember, and Ben, you did this to yourself. Well, you and the rest of the mod team. I don't know why, but you did, and I'll make sure you pay for it every time you let me on the mic. Sadly, you can't keep me down. We can't keep Mylon down, as Kemps is through and is out of the way. Out of this cave, walking out.
hopefully he will be able to figure out what his item from the sealed cave was.
Indeed, as that could be a bit awkward for him. He can go and try and look through his inventory to see if he can spot it, or if it's a key item, he can go and look at the tracker to see if he's found anything. But Kemps is just simply choosing to warp through, and I'm not certain how they're going to approach this. Also, Inven, you know that at the very least, they'll just start making me pay for the privilege of talking on here.
We've all had to pay for that privilege tonight. Wait, we get paid for this?
I'm sure I get paid in something, but I don't know if I want to go and check that payment at the moment. Gage, are you implying that I'm not top shelf? That I'm not above the cut?
I'd
That
like
you
to
can
see.
find me on a fire sale?
Are you trying to make a Cajun pun there?
That seems a bit too spicy for me. I don't know if I could dredge that if I have a swamp. But we do have Darkness Crystal for Kemps. He is going to go and check the bosses down here. He hasn't saved, so I don't know if he's going to go and come back, or if he's just going to say, nope, not doing this.
Looks like he is noping out. And hopefully his next step will be to the lunar subterranean.
Indeed, he needs to get that white spear altar and the Masamune altar, and he is set to go to Zeromus. Though he doesn't have the Tella that Dusty picked up, so he's going to be in a less favorable position for a grind, but he can go and pick up characters in the city if he remembers to do so.
Well, and he may take some encounters on the way down to the lower floors.
Very true. That's going to go and get a lot of experience, as those moon encounters are quite juicy in terms of experience. Though some of them can be kind of dangerous. I believe he still has extra hourglasses. He'd only really have to look out for the blue dragons, red dragons, and behemoths on the moon.
And if all else fails, that is a grind strategy. Just take fights on the way down to the lunar dais.
Agreed. It's definitely not the worst grind strategy when there are no sirens in this seed, and you do need a lot of experience for taking out Zeromus with a Porum, because Kemps did not go and look at Sand Ruby at all, I believe. Just leaving Rosa. And a slightly misaligned landing there. I guess he was a bit too starry-eyed to land where he wanted.
And he will get the bad news as well that there are no sirens available in this seed, and alternate methods will have to be used.
Yep, I wonder if he'll choose to go and take some trap chests in the hopes of going in. There's a lot of juicy encounters there. Those are a lot of not so juicy encounters as well, with those double dragons and behemoths.
but a chance for some very nice gear as well may tempt him.
Agreed, we didn't find any exceptional weapons for Kane, so he could certainly benefit from some extra gear. We do know that ogre axes are for sale in Fabul, if you remember that and choose to go back there. Those are outside of ice brands and blizzard spears. I would definitely put that as the best available weapon for Kane, I think. And Venerable correcting me that there is a defense sword in Cole Smith. If you take these moon encounters, gold dragons, turns out they give you a lot of money.
Would that be because they're made out of gold?
I figure that's just because they scaled well.
I think we've killed Chad.
I think they're just not interested in even reacting at this point. They know it just feeds me. I mean, look, if you want someone to bring them back, we need to find Mylon Z. I'm no necromancer. But it looks like Kemps is just diving to the basement, going to go and maybe he'll go and take the same approach that Dusty did, where he'll check the 2 spots nearby the save point, see if any of them are free, discover that one is free, and will give him a bunch of experience, and then be well on his way to finishing off this seed.
Well, and he'll very quickly figure out one of the encounters is the very opposite of free, and hopefully know to just nope out of that immediately.
Agreed. That the evil wall is definitely not going to go and be friends today. Ooh, they're just going straight to the Masamune altar, it looks like. And I'm disappointed, Event, that you didn't go renaming to Baka Shun Obi. Oh dear, are we going to go and see all the different ways my name can get butchered? Because I'm looking forward to it.
And again, I'd like to be a death. Words. I would like to send a huge shout out to the rest of our Restream team and Venerable and Ikir for tracking and restreaming.
Yes, it's thanks to them that we can go and see the progress for our runners on these objectives, which Kemps has now hit objective number 3, the 4th objective, or the number 3 objective, 4 objectives total, 1 to go, and he's not too far away from it, so let's see how this works. Let's cheer him on as we get to the end and give him a big congrats, because this that hook path can definitely be very rude. That is one thing that can really stymie some people. Dusty was rather fortunate that his constitution didn't waver in that fight.
And he takes a quick save and heads first to the Lunar Dragon spot, where he will find a very angry wall.
How angry can it be if it just wants to give a bunch of hugs? I mean, it's going to give them out for free eventually.
And he does stay in the fight. Looks like he is going to give it a try.
At his levels, it's a bit less risky than Dusty, I think. But it's definitely going to go, and we know it's not going to get him what he needs, but there are 2 spots here. He doesn't know that it's right next door behind a very free fight. I can't go and fault him for this. And to answer a question from chat, how can it be a wall if it moves? Well, it's probably not properly sealed.
Okay, I will admit that one was pretty good.
Gotta throw in enough of them, then you get some hits.
Even a blind squirrel finds a nut sometimes.
I don't know, I don't go and throw these out at random. I try and go and have, Actually, that'd be a lie to say I try and have some sense behind them. Ooh, but Evil Wall is, just not... Porum is throwing out bonks and not gonna be enough. We'll see if he goes to the room next door or if he goes back to there. He is going straight to the next door and skipping the wall, and will find what he wants after this very, very generous location. That's right. Dusty had a coffin, and from looting the Troya treasury, which Kemps did not do, which is part of what made this fight very quick for Dusty, though even if he didn't have the coffin, he did still have Teller the Weak, which would be a very acceptable secondary kill option.
And he takes out those 3 front guards, and the officer should soon be running away.
Where it runs to is anyone's guess, because I think he's a bit stranded on this moon location. And some call me Johnny. Thank you for the raid, and welcome to all the new viewers. This is the ending of our Fabul Gauntlet match. This is a new tournament for Free Enterprise. This is the first day of the matches, so this is one of the first rounds. We have 5 objectives we need to complete. Our runner has just gotten what he needs to finish his last one, and we'll be getting on our way to the Zeroma's fight as soon as Kemps finishes dropping this magma key and gets as many levels as they need for their fight.
And for those of us who did just join us, if this is your first time seeing Highway to the Zenith Zone, no, Free Enterprise, this is a open world randomizer for Final Fantasy IV, which was Final Fantasy II in the US. It's a great randomizer. We invite you to join our Discord and give it a shot. It's a lot of fun, and you can make it as easy or as hard as you would like.
And I would like to thank you all for coming in so hot. That text never, I'm always amused at it. It's a favorite for me. But with this, Kemps has everything he needs to go to Zeromus, but now the question is, those levels are a bit low with Porum, so we'll see where he chooses to go and get some more experience. And he is going back to the doors because they're open, and that doesn't involve going back to the moon.
It looks like he is checking his Sid's agility to make sure that it is a decent level for Zeromus, as there are certain agilities you do not want to fight Zeromus.
Yeah, Zeromus has a base agility of 69, which, while a very nice number, is a very less than nice number depending on how your agility lines up. 28 is the first agility value that goes and brings Zeromus from relative agility 1 to relative agility 2, which in more direct terms means that Zeromus goes from having a turn every one time the ATB advances to every requiring 2 advances of the ATB to go and get a turn.
And it looks like he did lose his edge and Palom on that, but managed to get his Palom back up, but does not get full experience for his edge.
Yeah, that hurts a bit, unfortunately. That is not ideal, as you really need to... Edge is a bit squishy and not going to go and take too well to the big bangs with, as you can see, level 44 and still sub 2000 HP. That said, there are plenty of doors left here, and it's not going to be too hard. Porum is going to require a fair amount of experience. If you can go and choose to get both Porum and Palom up to level 52, and that will go and get both of them their best damaging spells, with Palom learning Nuke at 52 and Porum learning White at 52, which will be... If you have that much damage coming out, you can probably go and get by Zeromus without needing an extraordinary number of levels, but Porum's still a bit scary to take into the Zeromus fight.
That's right, she goes down very, very quickly with even a medium strength Big Bang.
And it looks like Edge was a bit more keen on surviving that fight, so he's caught up on experiences now over that 2000 HP mark.
And those doors are very determined to kill his Sid.
Looks like they're hoping that Sid isn't entering the victory, because he's not really getting a chance today. Though Palom is certainly going and bringing the pain to these doors with those nice quakes and taking them out very quickly.
And as you said earlier, Baka, these doors, especially with 10 key items, can be a very, very nice grind.
Oh yeah, 60,000 experience a pop. They're not terribly long fights. And with, actually, I wonder if there's a small problem for Kemps, and does he have life potions? Because he's not getting his Porum back up, and he has been hardcasting life. I do know that Dusty had to spend a fair amount of time going around and checking all the shops.
And it looks like he may not have life potions, as he is having to go to a save point and use a cabin.
That is rather unfortunate. That might be something he wants to correct before going into Zeromus, as I mentioned, Porum's pretty fragile. She's not going to go and stand into a big bang. If things go sideways, the one source of reviving people is going to be the one who's on the floor.
Well, she is only 5. She just needs her nap.
Look, if Porum naps for me, she's napping the entire time, and she's going to go nap the entire fight. But if she's up for any of this, she's up for all of it.
Don't let certain people hear that you're using Porum as your anchor.
Look, certain people know my opinion of Porum, and certain people know my opinion of other healers, so they're free to go and wow, that is really bad encounter luck, getting 2 encounters in 2 steps. If we get we didn't get a 3rd encounter in 4 steps, so we don't quite have the Final Fantasy Legend 2 encounter luck. Yeah, Captain, it just seems like this game is trying to drive Kemp's batty. I guess that's what he gets for winging it. So, as we were talking about grind options, there's a preferred grind of eggs. The Yellow Dragon is in those eggs in the underground with sirens, and they pop out here as well if you go and let certain doors transform.
Now, wouldn't it be nice if you could combine the door XP with the dragon XP?
It would be so nice. And I believe this last door should be all Kemps needs to get Porum up to the white level, and I don't know if he'll need to go beyond that, or if he'll choose to just go straight in and throw spells. So if he's feeling extremely bold, he could go and grab that Tella for an anchor and see if he can go and do a reflect kill with, or, well, he wouldn't have to do a reflect kill, he just simply go and do hybrid strats.
And if he wants, he does have the necessary amount of gold to go and get that legend sword for, or that defense sword for Kate.
That he does, and it looks like he's going to go and choose to get more levels, as he's not happy with any of the agility. Edge could be an acceptable anchor, as while 28 is the first breakpoint where Zromus moves from relative agility 1 to relative agility 2, 42 is where Zromus moves from relative agility 2 to relative agility 3. And I saw that Edge was at 44, though, well, let's see. Because I don't believe Edge has both of his Masamunes on. You can go and do a little bit of shenanigans in this, where if the game doesn't update your agility until, well, it doesn't update your relative agility mid-fight. So if you change your agility, you can still change your attack multipliers and whatnot, but you can go and set your agility before a fight starts, switch weapons to something that's more or less favorable for you, and that can be used to adjust your anchor. This is something where it's there are certain vanilla strategies where if Cecil gets too high level and he's at level 45, Cecil has 28 agility, 44 or 25, but you can get him up to 33 agility, which is in the low 50s, and equip him with a dwarf axe, which will put him back at 25, and still start the fight, switch Cecil's weapon over. You now have a 28 agility anchor, but Cecil is still equipped with a very strong weapon.
That all sounded like math, and my brain doesn't math anymore.
It's a fun little equation. It's all about going and picking your fights and mapping out your best solution for it. Or I guess you could call it mathing your way to victory. And to think some of you people stuck me with 2.5 hours, I commend you. Not Inman though. He signed up to go and put himself to this punishment.
But it looks like Kemps is happy with his levels and is heading to his Zeromus fight.
So we'll go and give Zeekmus another hello and take him down a second time, and we'll see if Kemps wants to go and join us for a bit of an interview afterwards, as this has been a grueling seed for Kemps. That Kenizo really took a lot out of him.
And we definitely want to commend him for finishing the seed.
Agreed.
Not everybody would, and more power to it.
Yes, it's very easy to go look at this and say, all right, my opponent's done. You know what, forget this seed. But Kemps is sticking it out. Kemps is finishing because Kemps does not believe. Kemps is on team never forfeit, which I commend him for.
And for those who came in and on the raid, and this is your first time seeing Free Enterprise, we have a little extra surprise for you.
Indeed, we don't add Zeromus to our boss randomization pool because he's a bit too much of everything, but we do give him a little bit of something to make it fitting for a randomizer. So if you only know the vanilla game and this is your first experience to Free Enterprise, get ready for a little surprise.
And here you see our famous Zemus flag, or Zeromus flag, where nothing about the boss has actually changed, but the sprite is just a little bit different from what you may remember.
Indeed, and for people wondering why Kane Mist and Porum Silkweb didn't actually go and hit, there's a bit of the Zeromus sprite that comes into play here, where, or Zeromus scripting, excuse me, where if you do something too soon before Zeromus gets a turn, Zeromus their first action is to remove their immunity flag, which they have from when they are Zemus. And if that doesn't happen and you act before Zeromus does, after you change his form, he kind of shrugs off everything and says, nope, doesn't count.
And one of the great things about these Zeromus fights is you may never see the same sprite twice. There's, I believe, more than 400, or is it 500 now, in the actual pool. They're all different. They're all lovingly made by Boardface and Scala Kitty.
Indeed, and Inman pulling up the 444 number in chat, as I'm going to go and take his word for it. Scala Kitty correcting him, saying it's around 450, and Scala Kitty is definitely the superior source, as Scala Kitty is the main artist who goes and provides us with our sprites. So thank you for all of our fun sprites, Scala. Ooh, Kemp's taking a bit of an unfortunate fight where Porum takes a very high Big Bang, 2300, and goes down, which is, I I don't know if he has life yet. There's a reset. Zeromus is a very, very scary fight, depending on how things go, where if you push out enough damage, you can go and get Zeromus to skip certain phases of his fight, but if you don't, Zeromus is just going to go and grind you down. Dusty had a very particular setup which allowed him to act effectively as fast as Zeromus thanks to the agility anchoring, and that mitigated how quickly Zeromus was throwing out big bangs in this against Dusty. And Dusty, I believe, also managed to get something called the HP refill skip, where Zeromus technically has 100,000 HP, only he really doesn't. He has 60,000 and change HP. What happens is after you do 42,000 damage to him, when you directly attack him, he refills his HP to maximum, back up to 60 and shifts to phase 2. Dusty managed to align spells just right so that, unless I'm terribly mistaken, aligned his spells just right so he went and brought Zeromus down low enough where the next direct attack that landed brought Zeromus' HP to 0 before he could counterattack and do an HP refill.
Typically, you see the HP refill skip in your pure mage parties, but if you get lucky enough, you can see it on your hybrid strats as well.
Yes, it's very difficult to go and pull off. There's some members of the community who like to go and use certain strats that will go where they start as hybrid, but turn off their berserker abilities, or turn off their berserkers with a item called the Unihorn, so that they can get close to that 42,000 line, stop doing direct damage, and then finish off with reflected damage.
I commend those players because my brain just kind of turns off at a certain point of trying to add up damage.
Oh yeah, I am really bad at adding up damage myself. I just say, you know what? We're just going to go and do enough big numbers to you until you stop going and doing big numbers to me. Here comes the first big bang. This big bang is weaker as a function of the Zeromus fight, where Zeromus will go and set his magic power depending on the different spells, because magic works pretty well. If your opponent has a high magic stat, it's going to be a very unfair fight for you, because that magic damage is going to be very high. And I believe what Kemps is trying to do here is he's waiting for Palom to throw out a spell to get Zeromus to counterattack. When Zeromus counterattacks, he doesn't go and throw his all into that nuke, because if he did, he would just outright kill any character who got hit with it. It still hurts, but it's a lower magic power than what Zeromus has for his Big Bang, which, if Kemps has timed this correctly, that Big Bang should only do somewhere between 800 to 1,000 damage. That is not what happened, and now he is in a bit of a dangerous looking spot, as he just has Edge and Forum up. It is very difficult to go and get that nerf, because it is literally you need to go and land that nuke after Zeromus sets his magic power, but before he goes and cues the Big Bang, or casts the Big Bang, and he sets his magic power right before he casts Big Bang. It is an invisible turn after he shakes. It is a very, very hard timing to go and get off in a lot of situations.
Now, both Porum and Edge do survive this, and he does have the Cure 4 Q.
Yes, Porum is taking less damage due to a mechanic called due to the magic evade mechanic, where based on both your magic defense and your magic casting stats, wisdom and willpower, you have a chance to go and just mitigate some amount of damage, where it's functionally a roll where these are somewhere between 8 and 9 rolls of about 400 damage. Porum's taking 1200 damage because he's dodging 2 to 3 rolls of this big bang each time, and that's letting her go and stay alive despite having less than 2000 HP. Because you can see that big bang will do 2000 damage to a lot of people in his party. We see a direct nuke come out on Porum. That is an indicator of phase 2, where in the first fight we saw that Zeromus threw out Virus, which that's an indicator of phase 1. Zeromus changes scripts, and with that nuke we know that Zeromus is has refilled their HP and is back in, or is in the second phase and is getting closer and closer to being done. The last phase we'll go and see Meteos coming out, which, while scary, sets Zeromus's magic power very low, and
Ooh. And his Porum does go down there.
Yeah, if what Kemps is banking on is he far enough into the fight where he can get into media phase? He's not. This big bang is going to go and take him out. Porum definitely made a very valiant effort in getting through that. It's very hard and risky to go and take a Porum into this fight, just because Porum is a very unpleasant. A big part of what makes Porum bad in our previous discussion is the amount of HP she gets. Rosa gets dramatically less HP compared to, or Rosa gets much more HP compared to Porum.
And it looks like with that attempt, our d2kemps does take a 4.
Very understandable. He's been going and pushing to finish this off, but this fight is just going to come down to go grind some more, get some more levels, and that's not necessarily the most interesting thing to go on. So I can definitely understand saying this is done. We've gone and he's finished the seed. He's gone and found all the parts he needs. He's completed his objectives, and it just comes down to the Zeromus being quite rude. So GG to Kemps. Looking forward to seeing him in the next round. This is, again, the first round of the 5 rounds of Swiss, where as the weeks go on, the runners will be matched against opponents with similar scores. So Dusty will be fighting against someone who has 1 win, while Kemps will be fighting against someone who does not have a win. Dusty, again, is also the winner of the World Series of Free Enterprise and one of the top 16 runners from Highway to the Zima Zone. A very strong runner, and not someone you want to go and face in the first round.
And we will see if we can get d2kemps in for an interview.
Hello, welcome, congratulations.
Hello.
That Zeromus fight got a bit rude for you, but well done with all the rest of the seed.
It was not the Zeromus fight. It was the lack of a good anchor. Like, my best anchor was Porum, and when I was done on doors, she was only at 26, so I couldn't use her. I think if I had grinded somewhere else, I might have been able to get better, but this was already an hour after my opponent had finished, and it didn't really seem worthwhile.
That's entirely understandable.
Like, I know I can finish that, but like you said on the restream, it would involve grinding levels, specifically levels on Porum, so that Porum can anchor. I think she's at 26 right now, and she just needs to be at 28.
Yeah. For reference, Porum gets 20 agility at level 57, which is, at that level, a fair amount of experience.
Yeah. When does Rosa get it?
I think Rosa might get it actually a little bit after Porum, but there was a Rosa at Kaipo if you wanted to go with a low agility anchor.
Yeah, I knew about Rosa and Kaipo. I just
Okay. I couldn't remember if you had peeked that.
No,
But
I
still-
did. It's just by the time I got the San Ruby, I had already grinded kind of a lot on Porum, so it would have been a big downshift to get Rosa. It probably was the right choice, but what I was actually hoping for was that Sid could be my anchor. I just didn't realize when his agility hit 28, and it was much later than I thought.
I certainly don't know what's in hits 28. He really struggles to go and hit that level.
Yeah.
But how did you feel about other parts of that siege, such as 2 of those bosses in the overworld?
That seed felt tailor-made for me to be bad at it. Like being forced to do early grinding on Lamias in like ordeals is something I'm not used to having to do.
Yeah, those are some pretty unpleasant bosses early on too, with Valvel, the Maga Sisters, and Valvelis and the Baronin and CPU at ordeals with the team you had. You were a bit lacking on good damage options there.
I was sort of lucky in that I was able to wall on CPU. I don't think a single one of my walls actually hit anything but the target I wanted when I was doing that.
Yeah, I believe you got 3 for 3 on that. Just had an unfortunate shift.
Yeah. But yeah, grinding in the early game is not something I'm very good at, and something I'll need to work on, obviously.
That's very fair. We all have situations we're very awkward at, and it's just early in the tournament. There's a lot of things that can go and change. First round, you can go and just pick up more wins in the next upcoming rounds.
Oh, yeah. Also, I knew that I was going to take a fall here going up against Griff. He's, like you said, he's gotten top 16 on the last tournament, and I am a little bit out of practice in this game. Can you tell me, did they just remove the key item from Luca Cave?
No, it's still a chance there. It's just, oh, I'm sorry. You got a specific glitch with the text box where if you just hit it at the right time, it will not show it just won't show the text. You can still go back into your inventory and you can find the item there, or you can use a track menu to see if you got a key item from there.
I have never seen that glitch before.
It's come up a few times in the past. It's, I think it's technically a vanilla glitch. It's something that has occurred, but it happens when you're mashing mostly. I've gotten it once or twice myself.
Can you tell me what was there, or no?
I unfortunately don't know because Dusty did not go there.
I assume it was the Avenger Sword because the Avenger Sword was just randomly in my inventory, and I'm pretty sure I didn't get it anywhere else.
That would make sense because Dusty definitely did not have an Avenger Sword. And there is no chest that would go and give you an Avenger Sword, so it coming from there is definitely the most reasonable option.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I hope I can do better next time.
Well, and I think all of us who looked at our matchups and were like, oh, good, we're against their top 16 players, we just kind of thought, oh, boy. But I thought you put on a great show. We all loved your CPU fight when you kept getting those 50-50 rolls.
I don't know what else I could have done there, to be honest. I feel like I needed to go for the 50-50s to get through that fight.
It's certainly not a fight I would be excited about joining, because that's a very rude fight with Sid, who's not really going to get in a lot of strength, and you didn't really find any great weapons. The best you could have gotten was like an Orax and Fabul, and then try and back pro glitch him to get some extra damage. But that fight was rude, and that was definitely a bold and interesting strategy, and I liked it. I was happy to see it.
I'll have to watch the playback to see what Griff did.
Yeah, Dusty had managed to go and clear Fabul earlier and had Kane there, so he was able to just choke through with jumps. But even Kane, I think, was jumping with a mute knife. It was an ugly fight.
Yeah, it was a slog for sure.
Anyway, I gotta get ready for work. Thanks for the restream, and I hope you guys have a good night.
Thank you as well. Thank you for racing.
Thank you so
and
much.
Look forward to seeing you in the future. Have a nice evening.
You too.
And with that, that brings one of the first round fight or matches of the Fabul Gauntlet to the close. And I'm excited to go and see where this goes. How do you feel, Alice?
I am very excited, very nervous. I think we're going to see some breakout players, some new players with this format, which is great. I love the new blood.
Oh yeah, I'm looking to see how deep the new blood comes into